Kamera mögött. Beülsz, Zoli, megnézhetünk? Végülöd az ötöt? Nem, csak azt ott egyet. Azt nézzük meg. Igen. Hát először a...
Csak én nem szeretek szerepelni.
Oké, erre a lámpa.
Nagyon profi.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Irisli Pajnai, the CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce. Very warm welcome at our cluster about innovation and business services. For those who may have not heard about AmCham, let me share some information with you. AmCham, since its foundation exactly 30 years ago, has been working for the improvement of competitiveness in Hungary. We are a politically and financially independent organization, and our 360 members contribute to more than 35% of the Hungarian export and employ more than 220,000 people. This afternoon, we have invited some of our most prestigious members who are going to share with you their success stories and their learnings in the field of innovation and business services. First, you are going to hear Peter Szalai, the CEO of IBM, followed by a panel discussion moderated by our president, Dr. Farkas Bársony, who is the CEO and partner of Condor Holding. Our invited guests are Kata Kővári Krecsmári, who is the Senior Product Director of LogMeIn, Kevin Murray, CEO for Central Europe and Country Head for Hungary of Citi, Zoltán Szabó, General Manager of BT Regional Operations Center, Prabal Datta, General Manager of Tata Consultancy Services, and Dr. György Drótos, who is the Associate Professor of the Corvinus University of Budapest.
Good afternoon. On October 12, 2020, I was sitting at home watching a live video stream through my laptop. Beside me, 33 million people were watching the same exact event. We were watching a widely known Austrian athlete, extreme athlete, Felix Baumgartner, and his jump from the stratosphere. Felix climbed up to 39,045 meters high in a helium-filled balloon and jumped out from his capsule, broke the speed of sound, reaching 1,343 kilometers per hour speed. I was watching this live in absolute great quality. His entire trip back to Earth lasted 9 minutes and 9 seconds, with 4 minutes, 22 seconds of complete free fall. Who made that possible? That over 33 million of people watching that live, that stream live all around the globe. A small Hungarian startup called Ustream. That company was funded by 3 young entrepreneurs, among them Mr. Gyula Fehér, a Hungarian one. Dedicated and talented people who dared to dream big. The company had its development center in Hungary, in Budapest, here, very close to here. And it still has been. I always say that life is the greatest screenwriter. As a little bit over than 3.5 years later of Felix Baumgartner's jump, IBM acquired this company. So I can call all of these young entrepreneurs my colleagues. They've been working with the same enthusiasm, with the same devotion for IBM now, as they really started the business back in 2005. Jumping into the unknown was always present in IBM's life. When John Fitzgerald Kennedy presented his famous speech at Rice University, Houston, in September 12, 1962, claiming that US will be sending people to the moon and will bringing them back safely, IBM was immediately behind this initiative. This mission seemed to be completely impossible at that time, especially knowing the fact that some of the metal alloys, which were needed for the giant rocket, were not even invented. Though IBM has been actually part of the US space mission since 1952, this new mission was a completely new and demanding, almost impossible challenge for us. By the way, there is a particularly good movie about these early heroic stages of space exploration. The movie called Hidden Figures, which shows you very well, the early years and all sort of difficulties what mankind has actually faced with. I warm-heartedly recommend you to watch it. Back to the mission, achieving the unachievable. What made it possible that, beside all the difficulties, on July the 20th, 1969, the Eagle has landed on the moon? Probably because thousands of talented people believed that their work, their dedicated work, will pay off. On the very day when Apollo 11 splashed down to the Pacific, Bob Evans, who was at that time IBM president of the Federal System Division, wrote a letter to his colleagues, which I quote. Certainly, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins, as well as all the others, must be recognized as courageous and skillful men of the highest order. But we must not forget that the men who walked on the moon were members of a far larger team. I take enormous pride in knowing that 4,000 members of this team were IBM men and women of the Federal System Division. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation and progress cannot be stopped. I claim that we are at the beginning of a new era, on the verge of a new era, which will change not just the computer science, but will change the world around us, from transportation through cybernetics to medical sciences. In 1980, a guy called Paul Benioff already stated that quantum mechanics should be used for computing. 1 year later, Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize winner physicist, put together the basics how the quantum computing should work. And this new era is the era of quantum computers. This will be such a big jump in computer science than the discovery of nuclear energy in the history of mankind. A computer which is 1 billion times faster than the current supercomputers. "40 years of hard work and many, many disappointments is behind us, because I claim that we are at the gate of success. Currently, 2 big companies are competing for industry leadership. One is Google, another one is IBM. We are very close. And it's nothing else than shows that we are very close, that IBM just recently, actually September 24th, announced its quantum computing center, which will support 150,000 already registered users, 80 commercial clients, research laboratories, and they will use the 53-qubit quantum computer, which is to be announced now, the biggest computer allowed to be used for public usage. We are at the beginning of a new era, in this unknown era. But I'm sure that this new era will be driven by people, by men. As I always say, that behind every innovation, there is a vocation and perseverance of a talented man. Thank you very much.
Please, the panel come up on stage. Thank you, Peter, again for your very inspirational talk. And, as we heard, innovation is basically triggered by curious and I would say courageous people, those ones who are talented enough to look beyond conventional, but also to come up with unprecedented answers. As I think we all learned, not from this talk, but what we experienced so far, that the human factor shouldn't never been underestimated. The ecosystem should be out there to support, don't get me wrong, but the ecosystem is out there more to boost human imagination and performance. So why we came here today is basically to discuss why regional and global decisions are made, let's say, in favor of Hungary. Why and how we could upgrade the services to be performed on a global or regional grounds in Hungary. And let's start with Corvinus, with you, Gyuri. And we all know the university is the most respected university for economic sciences in the country with very strong international relations. And you've been running studies to understand the developments in the service sector in the most recent years. So it would be great to hear what are the drivers behind the fact that more and more, as we also heard today, high value added services are brought to Hungary.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here and share some thoughts on this sector. And let me go back a little bit in history, because I think almost 15 years that the business service sector demonstrates steady growth here in Hungary. And the first investors, the pioneers, have started with probably the standardized and transactional type of services, naturally because it involves the less risk. And gradually, as the experience was positive, they have just increased the service portfolio and included more higher value-added services as well. If we take, for example, the example of financial services, which is still the dominant or the most popular type of service provided by the Hungarian business service sector, it started with general ledger, it started with order-to-cash operation and similar services. And over the years, it involved taxation, treasury, management reporting as well. And in between, also the geographical scope expanded. So more and more territories in the world have been provided by Hungarian service providers. And in addition to this, beside the original service, let it be finance, other service lines also appeared, like HR and IT and customer service. And today it is quite extensive, and as you mentioned, the higher value-added component is still increasing. Some of the companies who are present can probably justify this logic. I just recall the example of General Electric, which went through this trajectory as well. If you ask for the main factors why it is possible, I think also in the past and also in the present, the dominant factor is the skilled labor. But besides this, there are other very strong factors like the economic context, including taxation and the general support of the government, but we can also include the good infrastructure. It was mentioned previously. Quality of life, probably a little bit subjective, but still a very important factor. So this can be also listed, and together, I think, keep this kind of high image and very attractive nature of Hungary to the investors today.
Thank you, Gyuri. And as you said, we may hear some justification from the corporate world. So let's turn to Kevin. The city arrived in Hungary, as many of us know, back in 1985, well before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Since then, the city has evolved into one of the most advanced financial institutions in Hungary. And together with the City Service Center in Budapest now, city employs more than 2,300 professionals, speaking more than 30 languages. And being the head office in Central Europe, you have extended responsibilities in the region, and we are very much interested in understanding how your global and the financial centers view your operation in Hungary, and what are your key achievements and key challenges you see. And thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Farkas. I think first let me go back a step or two and say, why Hungary? Why did Citi pick Hungary back in the early 80s? And I think we have to go really past a little bit before that. We talk about innovation. We talk about funding of the transatlantic cable. We talk about the opening of the Panama Canal. We talk about the ATM, which, by the way, we did not invent. We found in somebody's garage, and we just innovated the heck out of it. And we talk about sustainable development goals, where Citi has pledged $100 billion back in 2014, about half of which, over 95% of rather, has been already obligated. And we've just did a $1 billion green bond. So all of which is to say that we look forward and we're not afraid of taking a chance. So back in the 1980s, this is before Ronald Reagan even got cranking, we got a call from the central bank and said, would you like to open up operations in Hungary? Well, we had clients who were starting to come in there, which is why one of the reasons the central bank was looking for it. They wanted some banks that started considering cross-border. They were quite forward-thinking. So with a forward-thinking partner, clients on the way, we said yes. And so, 35 years later, we haven't looked back. And since that time, we have, in fact, evolved. We've developed IB, investment banking products, corporate banking products. We are very big in the digital space. In fact, our focus now is largely in that digital space, trying to service those clients, be they government, be they public sector, private sector, large corporates, the subsidiaries of our multinationals, those who are, in fact, really trying to push us in that digital space. And that becomes a very big part of our portfolio. But in the meantime, back in 2005, we had the opportunity to start our service center. And we started with 55 people, and as you just heard, we're down now up around 2,000. The difference in the 2,000 and 2,300 is the people we have in the banking area, where we actually produce the revenue and what have you in the back office. So we brought this service center in, and it has just grown success on success. But like many service centers, it's evolved. When you move in, service center moves in, as you just heard, you come in with some basic ideas, some basic challenges. And frankly, the corporation wants to test you. They want to say, why do we have it there? What are we going to move out there? So that test usually goes down with about anything that's in a high-cost area. They're starting to move out. Well, we're well beyond that now. Service centers now are being very specific. You look at the talent in the neighborhood, you look at the support from the government, and then you look at what your needs are, and geographic needs as well as the corporate needs, what your clients are looking for. And we are inward-facing, we're not outward-facing with our service center at this time. But we are here because of clients, so all in all, it all ties together. And once you get that, then you start to see a footprint develop, which is more value-added in some areas, maybe more transactional in others. And I see that as just a natural step in the evolution of the service center. And I expect that to continue to go on. We've seen more development here of technology, We've seen more of the modeling, quantitative analysis. We've seen quite a bit in finance. We pick up a lot of finance roles here. We pick up a lot of security roles here. We have one of 3 cybersecurity centers globally sitting here in Hungary, all of which, excuse me, all of which adds to the just the importance of the service centers that's sitting here, and also adds to people's belief that Hungary has something to offer. And that offering is quite a bit. It's a robust economy, good education, good connectivity. We have our challenges, I will say. You know, right now the challenge for talent is not is quite fierce, but we have ways to work around that. We have a population of 200,000 plus people sitting around the globe, many of whom want to come to Budapest. They want to broaden their skill sets, and we'd like to have them do it. So we have about 15% of our people who are not from Hungary. The rest, Hungarians. So 85% of that number is Hungarian. Now, we have a few from Asia, we have a few from Africa, a few from North America. By and large, those that are coming in that are non-Hungarian are coming from Europe. We're seeing them from Spain, Italy. We even managed to glom a couple from the EU. Germany has a few. We have a good number from Germany in there, Slovakia, Czech. So it's a very strong presence here of the European Union within our own borders here. And then the other thing is people say on the business side, how about low interest rates? Well, it doesn't make your margins better, I will say that. But our view on that is if low interest rates keep the economy going, and that benefits our clients, and they continue to grow, I can assure you we will earn more from those growing clients than we would for a marginal increase in interest rates. So there's a very positive side to this. And I think, we're pretty much where we are. Hungary's on the map. We have, I forgot, we have 4 other countries in there that we manage from here. Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria. We do that more on a light touch. We have top management, top leadership in those countries, and they all have the same mantra. We serve the client.
Yeah, thanks. So Hungary is definitely on the map for cities. So let's see what happens, for example, at BT. And I'm turning to Zoltán. Since 2007, you've grown to be one of the biggest business service centers in the country. 2,500 employees, serve more than 3,000 customers in 30 countries. And 18 languages, if you want to compare to the others, from its Budapest and the countryside, the Debrecen offices. And I think it's interesting that the BT doesn't have a consumer brand in Hungary. A company put special focus on employer branding as a result to increase its attractiveness. So I think it's interesting to know what are the key learnings in attracting and keeping talent in your company, Zoltán, and what are the next step for the company?
Thank you, Farkas. When I started in BT in 2015, in fact, there are some in the room who started at BT earlier than me. Rod, I don't know where you are, but anyway, so when I started at BT in 2015, it was already a successful company. We had around 1,000 people. We were one of the major players of the industry and definitely of the labor market. But we came to let's say a crossroad. We were an unknown brand. So when I first went to Debrecen, we have a beautiful office in a beautiful city of Debrecen, just above the city market. And our cars are parking side by side, those cars supplying the city market. And my colleagues in the Debrecen office was telling me that the BT cars with their BT logo on it were often mixed up with a chicken transportation company. For the Hungarians, it's Baromfi Transport. So definitely said that's, even though we are a successful company, that's not the brand I would like to carry further, and probably some employer branding needs to be done. We came to a crossroad because we continued hiring 500 to 600 people year on year. We still continue hiring 500 to 600 people year on year. Obviously, partly goes to backfill, but still we grow a couple of hundred. So it's a huge machinery what we have to keep moving. But we came to a crossroad also because we started to realize that more and more high value add jobs, we've heard about high value add jobs so much already, but yes, we started to see more and more high value add jobs coming into the country, into our center. We realized that probably less than 10% of our openings are for fresh grads. The rest is for more experienced people with 3, 4, 5 years experience. So we said that we definitely have to change something if you want to go further. And that's when we started to put more focus on building the brand. I'm passionate about the employer brand. I believe that a good brand attracts people from the market, and a good brand also keeps the talent with us in house. What we also did in the past, and we keep doing it, is building extensive educational cooperations with universities like Corvinus, but also others like the Debrecen University, and some very good secondary schools across the country, not only to attract people there, but also to influence the education. And obviously you can ask what single company then BT can do changing the curriculum. Yes, BT cannot change the curriculum itself, but what I see, and it's a good news, that many of us are going back to university and starting to change the curricula, starting to tell professors what needs to be taught. We heard about soft skills needed earlier in the morning panels. Yes, we do teach soft skills, professional languages, etc., etc. So to make sure that when those youngsters end up with us, or they don't end up with us, but they end up somewhere else in the business services sector, they have the right skills needed. And I like Peter's story from President Kennedy and the moon mission, because my favorite story is also with JFK and his visit to the NASA, whether it's true or not. Obviously, the IBM stories were true, but my story, I'm not sure whether it's true. But they say that when JFK went to NASA, he asked the cleaning lady what she was doing there, and the cleaning lady answers that I was putting a man on the moon. And that's what we learned, that if you want to keep people in the company, you have to show their purpose, you have to increase their engagement. So my mission, and we are very passionate about it at BT, is to link those sometimes siloed service lines, business units together, and show the people their purpose, and show how they come together and fit into the big picture. And we are not there where when was it 40 or 50 years ago the cleaning lady was at NASA, but hopefully soon getting there. And is it enough? Definitely not. We came again to a crossroad. If I read the HIPAA survey, what we see is that we are a major industry with 60,000 employees and around more than 100 companies. And we always say that, we want to grow, 5 to 10% average growth industry-wide. We all want to move up the value chain, whatever it means, but it for sure means that we need different people and different skill set and more skilled labor in the future. So that will bring different challenges. If I look at the national economy strategy, moving Hungary from the made in Hungary to the invented in Hungary era, it also shows that we not just want to pay more, but we want to pay more in a way that we keep competitiveness by moving up the value chain and bringing more value-add works to Hungary. And we also issued a Z generation survey, which showed us that our industry is not a very well-known industry. However, our industry, for most of the youngsters who filled out the survey, and it was a representative survey, over 1,000 respondents, so our industry can give to the youngsters what they want. And if we give them what they want, if they know us better, then probably they would stay in Hungary and contribute to the talent pool in the future. And therefore, within AmCham, with 20 other companies, we got together, and it's quite a remarkable cooperation because we set aside that on the labor market we are fierce competitors, obviously, of each other. But we said that together we want to raise the attractiveness of this industry, because if we want to grow 5 to 10%, it means that it's 3 to 6,000 new entrants year on year. If we want to move up the value chain, it puts us in an even more difficult position, because we need different skills, more skills. And on the Randstad survey, our industry used to be the 8th more attractive industry, which is not a very prestigious position to be. So we said that, why don't we get together? Why don't we come up with a common branding, and together we try to improve and not just try, but together we improve the attractiveness of the industry. So therefore, I'm very proudly, in the name of the entire corporation AmCham, I'm very proudly telling you that we launched a BSS, a business services sector website, where new entrants and those prospects who are interested in the industry can learn more about us. We launched a Facebook page. A new marketing campaign will be launched very soon to attract more followers on those pages. And tomorrow, in fact, we are stepping up together on the HVG job fair in various panels, and we are not recruiting on those panels. We are recruiting in a separate corner of the room. But in those panels, we are talking about what benefits our industry can bring to those who are looking for jobs, or those who are thinking about leaving other industries. So I think I passionately believe in this cooperation, and that's the future if we want to grow and we want to reskill ourselves.
Thanks, Zoltán. And behalf of AmCham, let me also thank you for your extraordinary contribution around rebranding this sector. But we need to quickly move actually to one of the greatest success story related to Hungary. Hungary is widely known by the innovative, creative approaches presented by our world-class famous investors, and one of the success stories of the past, let's say, 20 years is represented by LogMe, and so that's why Kata is here with us. Basically, LogMe's name became famous for its remote support software, if we are correct. One of the most influential IT companies who started from Budapest about 20 years ago. And today, although its headquarters are in Boston, the Budapest and other countryside, the Szeged offices in Hungary are the most important development centers within the company in the present years. So could you share with us, Kata, your success story, and what's the reason behind keeping these development centers in Hungary?
Sure, thank you. So, as Farkas mentioned, LogMe started here in Hungary. It was actually, the roots are coming from innovation, and innovation based on engineering creativity and actual laziness. Because one of our founders, Márton Anka, he just didn't want to cross the river from Buda to Pest to the office to work. He said, what if I was able to reach my work computer from home? And thus, remote access was born, right? So that from home you can reach your work computer and vice versa. So the very roots of the company are based on creativity and innovation, which we cherish and nurture to this very day. So this was around 20 years ago. LogMe as a company has been in existence since 2003. We've been on NASDAQ since 2009, so 10 years ago almost. And I joined the company in 2008. And back then, we were not startup. We were past the startup phase, but we were still very small, like 80, 85 people altogether, which grew to be a company, a global company. We're in more than 7 countries in the world, global company, as you mentioned, headquarters in Boston. But the biggest engineering site is here in Budapest, right? So Hungary, we kept the engineering roots here in the country. Now we're more than 4,000 globally. In Budapest, more than 400 people, and I'm proud to say that we're opening our second campus soon at the beginning of next year. So we have a beautiful office. You're welcome to visit on Andrássy Street, but we're going to open a second one because we're outgrown the current office at Astoria, which is coming January and February. I also have to add that innovation at the company is something. You know, if you're an engineer, you just want to create something new. You want to create something cool, something that people will actually use. And I think this is our unique selling point, because you as an engineer or a product person or designer, you have immediate impact. So you release something into production, users are going to use it, right? So we're software as a service. There's no box to be built. You just use it. And there's immediate feedback via Twitter, via CSM, Teams, and so on and so forth. We also have yearly hackathons where people, our teams can just hack for a week, create new products. Some of these hack results actually became actual products that we currently sell today. So, yeah. I could talk for hours more. We have 5 and 4.
Thanks for respecting. Yeah, you checked the watch as well.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, but last but not least, I'm turning to you, Prabal. You set up your first global delivery center in Budapest back in 2001 and providing support to global companies in their digital transformation. And you have also 2,500 employees, offer the broad portfolio of services on a global scale. Where do companies in Hungary stand in the global process? That would be interesting to hear. And how can the transition be further supported and accelerated.
Excellent. Thank you, Farkas, for a very pertinent question. Because since morning we have been hearing this term innovation, digitalization, automation, and now Peter talked about quantum computing. It's like a buffet of offerings that is there, and you pick and choose. Business can pick and choose. But unfortunately, that is not the situation. Like Zoltan mentioned about an employee needs to know the purpose. So these days, as a consumer, we value purpose more than the product feature. So that's why big cars, which are very advanced, they don't sell because people do not want to buy cars, right? They have alternate solutions for their transportation need. Or, for example, shopping, right? You don't have to go to a store to buy. And that's why your online experience has to be as good, if not better, than going to a store. Because in store, at least you can feel and touch, which is not the same as an online. So online has to be recipe. And this kind of disruptive ideas are actually challenging the current businesses. So businesses actually do not have any other option to transform and use this technology, harness this technology to augment their capability, human capability with machines. Okay. Now, this is happening in Hungary also. As a technology partner, just one line addition to the company introduction that you did. Many may not know that this is a 50-year-old company. Last year we celebrated 50 years, based in India, with 400,000 people working for us. It is the third largest IT company in the world, after IBM and Accenture. We have 20 billion in revenue, and we support more than 1,500 customers around the world. From Hungary, we support about 80 odd customers. Now in Hungary, for example, you have recently seen Vodafone's campaigns. So that is run by that real-time, hyper-personalized campaign is something that we built for them. Or we helped Randstad to become more efficient and by moving their entire systems to cloud. That is one of the largest public cloud migration that we have done. Or if you have traveled with the KLM, we have seen their digital interface in terms of social media, WhatsApp. That's all done by TCS engineers from here. So there are hundreds and hundreds of case studies where customers are embracing this technology, ethical advantage for their transformation, and because of the different business imperatives. Now, we have a framework we call a Business 4.0 framework in this Industry 4.0 thing, which takes up 4 behaviors and technologies for companies to transform. And behaviors are very simple. Mass personalization, which all of you are probably very intuitive. That's the most commonly adopted behavior. Then also look at leveraging the ecosystem, because nowadays you cannot do everything by yourself. You have to do a horizontal integration. You have to also look at how do you embrace risk and how do you generate more value. Because embracing risk is a bit counterintuitive for business, because business is about mitigating risk. But how do you take chances with proper analytics, support, etc., deliver? Then we did a survey in 2019, earlier this year, along with Financial Times, to see how is the adoption of these behaviors in the market, like the question that you asked. We surveyed more than 1,000 companies in the world, across different continents, across different sizes, and we found that more than 82% of companies are actually adopting one or more behaviors from these 4. But only 9% are actually doing all the 4. But interestingly, out of that 9%, majority are European companies, which is a good news. But, and these leaders are also expected to grow by 10 to 15% in the coming years. But at the same time, there are 9% who has not yet adopted this. Okay? And majority of them are smaller companies. So that brings us to the Hungary story. You asked, Beta, what is the Hungary? Now, Hungary as a whole, what we have seen in the morning also, there is a positive trend in terms of digital adoption, whether it is your broadband communication, 99% penetration, or government initiatives or incentives to promote digital education, or work of AmCham and other organizations to promote digital education, digital awareness. That's a good start, good begin with. But when a technology become a part of the business, like a core in the business in the current terms, then we need to probably have more opportunities to do things like what it was mentioned in the morning also, like digital governance is one. Or for example, we talked about, I'll come to that. So then the most important factor of this digital adoption would be the human capital, like most of the panelists would have mentioned. Now here, I think as a shared service industry, we have a role to play, because individually all of are creating or retraining talent. Like in TCS, for suppose I mentioned about this 400,000 employees, but we have retrained, because many of them are from legacy technologies. So our CEO said that we do not have any legacy people, we have legacy technologies only, right? So how do we retrain those people? And we could train all of them into new digital technologies. Something like that, training and retraining, whether you can done it individually or as a combination of joining hands with universities and government, that would be an important point to look at, I would say.
No, thank you, Prabha, very much for the insight. Actually, I can't stand not to ask one more question from György, if I may. In each story, human capital as a determining factor was highlighted. And, we know high-level jobs require high-level education. So how you see the role businesses need to play in transforming education? Because I think we all agree it requires some kind of transformation to meet the challenges here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Farkas, and probably we could organize a different panel for this or a whole conference. And because of the time constraint, I try to briefly summarize my points. I think there are 3 levels where business and university can collaborate. And taking the example of Corvinus, we got a strategic advisory board first, which comprises of the prominent leaders of prominent companies. Some of them are present here, like Kevin is part of this advisory board, and also Melanie Seymour, who is also a presenter, and Jörg Bauer from Tungsten. So I'm happy to see them here. And also Gyula Fehér was mentioned by Peter. He's also part of this board. So we listen carefully and personally to those who make their business in Hungary, and they are very active in advising us what to do, what not to do. And the very first thing they advise, and this is the second pillar, to focus on soft skills in education. It was mentioned in the plenary. Focus on digitalization, process management, and also the other new approaches and methodologies. And this is partly done in universities. I wouldn't say that it is absolutely fit to the demand, but teamwork and presentation skills, communication, and this kind of problem orientation, and you can name it, are already part of the seminars. And concerning lectures, probably those who attended universities some years or even decades ago would be surprised that sometimes there are no lectures anymore because they are digitalized, and we put more emphasis on seminars where skill development is in the focus. So the second pillar is education, and one part of this kind of collaboration is to follow the demands of the business and the advice of the business leaders. But I would also add that we want to close the gap between work and education, and of course there are compulsory training periods and occasional business projects we offer to students and companies as well, where they can collaborate, which is quite innovative at the moment, and I think very good feedback we receive from both sides. And also I would mention the tailor-made programs we offer to companies. So some companies approach us to make some kind of industry-specific or even corporate-specific education programs for the aspiring managers, for example, and we're happy to do this. And we got a lot of good collaborations with companies like Hungary Control and MVM and Provident. And also, and it relates to the panel, we are co-creating a whole program for the business services industry. So it's a kind of postgraduate program aiming of the future and present employees of this sector. So I would say that it is quite significant. The very last thing I would mention, and probably this is where we should be more agile and active, is research and innovation in the very strong sense of the word. Here we got some good examples, but I think this is what we can increase with the partners, and the Minister of Finance, Mr. Mihály Marga, mentioned that Corvinus in a special position because it was transferred from a state-owned university to a foundation-based and business-like university. The capital of the university is made of shares of MOL and Richter, and I think it's in itself it's an indication that we should do more for the business and collaborate, and not only in the education side, but also in research and innovation.
Okay, thank you very much. And as you said, it would deserve probably more time, an hour, just on this topic. But I can confirm that AmCham is out there, still there, and we could provide a platform for any kind of further discussions on this. But we have to cut here, so thank you very much, the panelists, and thank you for your attention. And I think we're in time to listen to Mr. Sarkozy soon. So thank you again for being here.
akartam besajtani azt a hülye állványt, aztán látjátok, hogy
tempóban, mire felérnek azok a székek, ő legalább ez az utolsó fak. Fölösszék majdnem neked. Ez pont a videóaktasségre, szokják. 6x8, 48. Ennyi hagyjad. Mennyi az? Az például kell. Kettő. Tök mindegy, hogy mennyi van. Még azt a sort levontod? Biztosan. Mennyi
koldusok is, a szimpátia, ugyan már